Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Birds Brunch. This is a special look back at the Eagles' previous game coming to you on New Year's Eve Tuesday. So one more day to New Year's Eve. Hope everybody's having a good holiday season. Well, what can you say about the Eagles' 13-12 win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday? What can you say? Well, there are two ways of looking at it, and I've heard both ways. The pessimist would say, oh my God, their offense didn't do anything in the second half, and it was rather pathetic. And you wouldn't be wrong. But the optimist looks at it and says, oh my God, what a great win over a really good team. And that's the way I choose to look at it today. I think it was a fantastic win. I'm not oblivious to the fact that they didn't do anything in the second half offensively. Punt, 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 punt. Jalen Hurts 0 for 7 passing in the second half, and the defense had to carry them through again. The Eagles won a game where they were outstatted. They won a game in a place that's really difficult to win. In fact, the Buffalo Bills were 26-2 at that stadium in their last 28 games. So I look at it like that. The Eagles find a way to win games. And of course, the big question is whether it's good enough to win the whole thing. And we'll discuss that certainly in a lot of ways. Some people say the Eagles got lucky. Did they get lucky? Well, they got lucky in the extent that Josh Allen missed a wide open receiver, Shakir, in the end zone. But if you look at the play, you look like he was a little rushed on the play. He was a little off balance. He threw off his back foot. So the defense, I think, caused that play more than Josh Allen messed up that play. And of course, you got to look at the important PAT that was blocked by Jalen Carter. And you look at the Eagles made the necessary plays to win that game. So that's the way I look at it today. I'm not going to fall into a trap where you go, oh my God, their offense is terrible. There's no way they can win a Super Bowl with that kind of offense. We'll take things as they come here, but I believe the Eagles can win a Super Bowl with the way they play. They just do enough to win. Whatever it takes to win, they do. And if you want to lament the fact that they didn't score a lot of points, that's fine. I look at it like the other side. That's a tough place to win. That was a tough game to win, and they won the game. So let's look at some impressions that I had during the game. Of course, yeah, the Eagles defense dragged their offense across the finish line. You will see that in a little bit that the Eagles were outstatted every step of the way on team stats. But they did beat an elite playoff team again, 26-2. That's not chicken scratch, man. 26-2 with that home field advantage that Buffalo has, and they couldn't pull it off. Hurts was mediocre. Yes, he didn't complete a pass in the second half, 0 for 7. But the stalwarts on defense were immense. Jalen Hunt with 2 sacks. Epps and DeJean had 9 tackles apiece. Jalen Carter had a sack and a blocked PAT. Bourne was all over the field again. The Eagles with 5 sacks in the game, and that's doing stuff against a pretty good team. The Bills got 2 TDs on 2 straight drives in the fourth quarter with Josh Allen sneaking because of a missed extra point. The game was not tied. So what would you do in that situation? Well, Sean McDermott tried to go for it and end it by going for 2 there, and Allen missed his target. I don't know how many people would have attempted a 2-point conversion there. I never would attempt a 2-point conversion. I would like to extend the game. My philosophy is you can't win or lose the game on one play. There's too much risk and not enough reward. If you lose on one play, you lose. You give your team no chance to win the game at all. If you extend the game, you kick up an extra point there, you're still relying on your team against the Eagles offense, which wasn't doing anything, frankly. So I would not have gone for 2 points there, and Sean McDermott wanted to end it. I don't know what he saw because the Eagles offense wasn't going to really threaten the Buffalo Bills, and maybe the Bills would have had an advantage if the game went into overtime. So that's a talking point for the talk shows this week. The big play, of course, was Allen's turnover after a 50-yard completion to Brandon Cooks. He scrambles right. He attempted to get rid of the ball. I don't know what he was trying to do there. It's somehow he was trying to get rid of the ball on a pass, but Jalen Phillips knocked it out of his grasp. It got kicked backwards all the way about 30 yards, and Jihad Campbell fell on it. That led to an Eagles TD to make it 7-0. And the Eagles would score, actually were lamenting their offense, but they did score on 3 straight possessions in the first half to make it a 13-0 lead. And the turnover margin was 1-0. The Bills lost 1. The Eagles did not turn the ball over. Nick Sirianni, the head coach of this Eagles team, is 43-2 when they win the turnover margin. Now, the Bills' defense was supposed to be bad against the run. They didn't prove to be bad against the run in this game. So you can never tell from week to week. When you look at these stats, you go, well, you can really run on this team. You can never tell what teams' biorhythms are going to be up and what teams' biorhythms are going to be down. So here are the two questions that we have to ask now after all this has been processed. Number one, is this offense good enough to win? I'm talking about in the playoffs, where you have to outscore some teams, or maybe you don't have to outscore some teams. Maybe this defense is good enough where you don't have to have a lot of offense to win games. And that's, I think, what the Eagles are going to rely on. If you play the 49ers or the Rams, you think their offense is really percolating. The defense may have hold that down. Maybe you only need 17 points to win a game. Maybe you only need 20 points to win a game because of your defense. So that remains to be seen. That's a question that we have to ponder this week. And also, now that the Eagles are in this position, they have a chance to get the number 2 seed. All they have to do is win next week against the Commanders and then have the Bears lose to the Detroit Lions, and you get the number 2 seed. To me, that's a tremendously favorable outlook. If you get the 7th seed, that is an advantage for your team to get the Green Bay Packers on your home field rather than the Rams or even the 49ers on how it shakes out in your home field. So, yes, I would play my starters against the Commanders. So let me bring in my producer, Mike Warren, because, Mike, I want you to answer this question right out of the chute, and we'll open it to the chat, of course, the comments. I want to know from the people what they think the Eagles should do next week. Play the starters and try to get that number 2 seed because it's a 1:00 game, so you have to play the game. You can't wait for a result. And is the offense good enough to win after what you saw against the Buffalo Bills? What do you say, Mike?
They got to play the starters, Mike. They got to. This team has a lot to prove still. Offensively, they have a lot to prove, not just to the media or to the fans, but to themselves. They need to show that they're a team that is capable of going back to the Super Bowl, that they are in that same echelon, that same sentence as the Kansas City Chiefs, where you run it back, you have a good core, a good group of guys, good leadership, and you're able to win games as a result of that. The Bills game was a clear, the defense set the tone with punch in the mouth. I want to see that from the offense at some point. When is this offense going to punch somebody in the mouth? At some point, we're going to need to see it. Hopefully it's against Washington this week. And I think you do that by playing the starters, getting back to the under center packages that worked, play action passes. This team is really good under center. They need to rely on it more.
All right. So your theory is that you have to play not only to keep yourself in line for the number 2 seed, but also to get your offense percolating as you go into the playoffs, get a little confidence on what you can do offensively against the get-well team. You can put up good stats against that Commanders team.
Absolutely. I mean, for first things first, it's getting your ground game back on track. And then after that, everything else opens up. The RPO, the play action, the RPR. Jalen is who Jalen is. We know that. But Saquon Barkley has shown that he can be a physical runner behind this lamented offensive line that hasn't been as strong as what they used to be. So rely on Tank, rely on Saquon. Let's get the ground game going, and then you'll see the middle of the field open up like it did in weeks past.
All right, so I'm going to throw that question out to the people who are listening and watching the show right now. Would you play the starters against the Commanders and try to get that number 2 seed, but also to get your offense going as you go into the playoffs, or not? We already have a comment. Did they get lucky? This is from Jay Sporman. Did they get lucky, or were the Bills unlucky? There's no such thing. The Birds did enough to win. And that's the way I look at it. It is amazing when you finish a game, the people that look at the negative first rather than the positive. That was a great win over the Buffalo Bills. The Bills came on strong at the end. They weathered the storm there. And, did they get a break? They got a break, but it was influenced by defense, I thought. Josh Allen throwing off his back foot wasn't really secure with that throw in the end zone.
Right. I mean, one of my favorite sayings in baseball is that, the other guys are getting paid too. In sports in general, right? Like they're getting paid to make plays as well. The Bills didn't make more plays than the Eagles down the stretch. That's what it came down to. And our good old friend, number 5, Donovan McNabb, put out a nice little video tweet on his Twitter of him accomplishing a very similar pass to Brent Selleck for his first career touchdown pass late in a game to secure an Eagles win. And I believe Donovan tweeted and said something along the lines of, Same ball that Josh Allen missed earlier today. So, you got to make plays.
So Donovan would have made the play.
Yeah, that's basically what he's saying. Yeah, 5. Loving to keep it on him.
Yeah, Donovan. Okay. Now, Jay Sporman says, get right game? No way. You take the free bye week because you can still beat Washington with the backups. But that's kind of missing the point. Then you're giving up on the 2 seed. And if you get the 2 seed, you play Green Bay. If you get the 3 seed, you play the Rams or the 49ers.
Yeah, Mike, I don't want San Francisco coming into Lincoln Financial Field. I just don't want that. That's a team that lines up perfectly with the Eagles. You look at what Green Bay's gone through, the trials and tribulations, the injury bug. Yeah, they've got a good backup quarterback, but he's also banged up along with their starter in Jordan Love. So you got to find a way to get the Packers into Lincoln Financial Field by any means necessary.
I totally agree, man. And Mark Fike is chiming in. Yes, play the starters if the number one seed loses in the playoffs and the Eagles are the highest seed remains, then they get home field in the NFC title game. Well, they're not going to get the number one seed, but if they get the 2 seed and the 1 seed does lose, then obviously you can get home field advantage. The number one seed is going to lose, though. I don't know. Maybe not.
I think what the Eagles have rolling right now and what they have rolling at home in the playoffs is really what I'm referring to, because offensively, there's nothing rolling. Defensively,
Yeah.
we know what they are. But it's tough to play at Lincoln Financial Field. That's no secret. And I think that this team is going to benefit from that more than some others in years past.
All right, let's look at some team stats and some individual stats here. First downs, the Bills 20-11 advantage. When you look at these stats, you go, how the heck did the Eagles win this game? Third down efficiency, the Bills were 6 for 15 to the Eagles 3 for 13. Total plays, the Bills ran 73 total plays to the Eagles 54 plays. Total yards, 331 for the Bills, 190 for the Eagles. They both had the same number of drives, 11. Yards per play, the Bills had 4.5 to the Eagles 3.5, passing 211 yards to 108. And the rushing attempts, 100. They got 120 on the ground to 82 for the Eagles. Penalties were about the same. Turnovers, that was the big one. They lost the one turnover. All right, let's get some individual stats now for your Eagles. Jalen Hurts, 13-27 for 110, a QB rating of 71.5. Not a great night for Jalen Hurts, and his average per throw, 4.1. Saquon had 19 carries for 68 yards for a 3.6 average. Again, nothing special. A.J. Brown got 7 targets. He caught 5 balls for 68 yards. Devontae Smith, who missed a big pass in this game that we'll go over on our play-by-play, 2 catches for 25 yards with 5 targets. He had a long of 14. A.J. with a long of 27. Meanwhile, Josh Allen, 23-35 for 262, 7.5 average per play. Buffalo rushing, James Cook got 20 carries for 74 yards. They pretty much held him in check, 3.7 average. The big thing, Josh Allen, 7 carries for 27 yards. It was not as explosive because he was nursing that foot injury. And you can tell it wasn't the Josh Allen that of old that the league has seen. And so the Eagles got a break with that situation as well. So let's now get to Nick Sirianni. Nick talking after the game on beating Buffalo kind of had the same spin that I had, which is it's a great win when you win in the NFL, especially when you win against the Buffalo Bills. There's Nick Sirianni on beating Buffalo.
You got to give yourself points when you win football games. There's always things to clean up when you come out of a football game, but if you come out of a football game where you win on the road again in a hostile environment, man, they got really good fans against a really good football team that's had the sustained success that we have. Like if you come out of this and you're just thinking about all the negative things that happen, that makes for a miserable existence. We'll get there. We'll get to what we need to clean up, and really good first half by the offense, not a great second half, and a lot of different reasons why. I'm never gonna. Winning's hard in this league, and I'm always gonna enjoy a win. And then I'm gonna be really hypercritical on myself first and foremost, and then the rest of the guys after that, and the coaches. So yeah, you feel great.
As you're listening to Nick talk, we just got another text. August Drums text. I really dislike our head coach. Not to be negative, but man, he rubs me the wrong way. I know. I don't get certain people. I don't know how that innocuous soundbite could rub people the wrong way. That he rubs you the wrong way. That you really dislike the coach at this particular stage. The man's getting the job done. I wasn't a big fan when they hired him either, but I mean, his record speaks for itself. So whether it's dislike or not, I'm on my heels going, hey, what they're doing is fine. Let's hear a little more from Nick on the offensive struggles in the second half versus Buffalo.
I think it's multiple things. You know, obviously this has happened to us before, you know, this season. You know, we have to do a better job of helping them be in positions to succeed. I got to help. I put it on myself. I got to help, you know, with some things there, with some things that I know we want to get called. You know, Kevin did a good job in that first half, but I got to help in that second half a little bit, getting some things that we want to get called there. And then, you know, in execution, it's everything, right? And so, obviously, I'm not going to get too much into it. I have some thoughts, you know, and we'll go back and look at it. But a lot of things that we can do differently and better there in the second half.
All right, yeah, certainly a lot of things they can do differently in the second half. They're a fairly predictable offense, which is problematic, and we'll get to some really key stats about that in a second. But Jalen Carter, getting him back was monstrous. If you look at the stats, he only had, I think, 1 or 2 tackles, but his presence in there really lights up everybody else. It's very important to have him back in there. And he got that big mid up there to block that PAT. And they said after the game that they knew that kicker kicked it low. So he was right in that path. Smart. They're really well coached when it comes to things like that. Like Michael Clay, the special teams coach, does a really good job and getting in that path of where that trajectory, where that PAT was coming. Jalen Carter got right in there and snuffed it out. So here is Nick on Jalen Carter back for the Eagles and the defensive play that the Eagles got.
Yeah, huge. He's a big time player. Just a big time player who makes big plays. I mean, you saw it, right? Big sack. We did a good job of getting after Josh Allen, who's I have the utmost respect for Josh Allen. He is a phenomenal player. Obviously, the league voted him MVP last year, so I'm stating the obvious. But you know, the pressure he was able to put on the blocked extra point was huge. I actually, as we went through some of the highlights afterwards, I forgot to mention it, and like that was a huge play because then they're kicking a field goal or an extra point to win the game at the end instead of going for 2 to try to win. And so, yeah, huge to have him back. You know, he did a great job of taking care of himself and getting himself ready to go, and it's huge to have him back and involved in that defense.
Yeah, the Eagles. See, the Eagles made enough plays to win a game. We overlook the key plays that the team can make a lot of the times that we just take for granted. But that was a monster play. It was a monster play when they got the turnover, and it was a monster play at the end of the game when they were going for 2 when they pressured the quarterback into maybe getting the ball, releasing the ball a little early. So I give the Eagles total credit in this game. I'm not going to go down the path of negativity where their offense is struggling, and we try to project that, okay, their offense is struggling. That means they have no chance in the playoffs. They have a chance against if they could beat the Buffalo Bills in that kind of an atmosphere, in that kind of a stadium, with those kind of fans, in that kind of a game, they can beat anybody. Really, I mean, you're going on the road. So even if they go on the road for an NFC title game, are we going to say they can't win a game? Their defense travels. So I'm good with all that. All right, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts, we didn't have much influence on this game at all. Here's Jalen's initial thoughts on them beating the Buffalo Bills.
It's a big-time win. A competitive game, hell of a performance by the defense and how they played and how they were able to find a way to gut that out and make plays when we needed it the most. It's a really good opponent over there. Tons of respect for him, but I just think for us to come out here and play with good mentality overall, yeah. Obviously having having clinched and having the opportunity to go play in a tournament, having that already sealed, this game wasn't about anything more than just going out here and playing and playing with mentality. So glad to find a win.
They play with mentality. I have to laugh every time I hear him, not because he's funny, but because he's so stoic. It's amazing that everything that he says is so stoic, including like trying to describe the offensive differences from the first half to the second half. Here's the quarterback who went 0 for 7 in the second half, where they went punt, 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 punt. In all their drives. Here's what he had to say about the differences in the first half to the second half.
We got into a good rhythm and good groove. We're able to move the ball down the field in the first half and in the second half, a lot of things that I have to watch the tape on to be able to pinpoint. Obviously, maintaining aggression is one thing, and maintaining rhythmic ball play, then just going out there and executing ultimately. So you always look yourselves in the mirror with that.
All right, there he is. And finally, if you're watching this game on the sidelines, you're a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. You got your heart in your throat here as the Buffalo Bills decide to go for a 2-point conversion to win the game right there instead of tying the game and sending it into overtime. Here was his reaction on the final play of the game.
I mean, it's not in our control. It's not in our control. I think reflecting on that, this is a matter of how we can improve, right or wrong, regardless of the outcome. And so, obviously, I got a ton of trust in us as a team. I got a ton of trust in us as a unit to continue to grow forward and build and improve. Today was a game where it ended the way it went the way it went and flowed the way it flowed, and defense played a hell of a game. They played as a true unit and were able to go out there and play and click.
Well, it's amazing the emotion that you saw on the Eagles sidelines after that pass was incomplete. I mean, that was like whoosh, one of those deals where you breathe a sigh of relief that you finally survived and you won that game. Jay Sportman says, "What the heck is Jalen talking about?" But sometimes it's hard to decipher what he's talking about, but you just got to pay attention to the Zen message that's coming from him. Steve Savino says, "Yes, Mike, it was a hard-fought game. You're going to have these types against a really good team." And yes, that's exactly what I say. You're going to have hard-fought games like this where it doesn't look like your offense is doing anything and you don't earn a victory, but you get the victory anyway. That's the sign of a good team, in my opinion. All right, so there you go. I'm good on that. Now, the Eagles' offense is going to become somewhat predictable. We can't get around the fact that they're somewhat predictable. And there's a stat. Let me bring producer Mike Warren in again. Mike, talk a little bit about the Eagles lead the league in a particular play here, which is a successful play, but which also makes them very predictable.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. I got to give credit to Dennis Stellman on Twitter for this because he's been on it all year long. He's one of those guys that makes those efficiency charts in terms of plays that work and plays that don't. But the Eagles this year, they lead the NFL after Week 17 in hitch routes run on their passing
plays. Now, a hitch route, just for the record, for the people who don't know, a hitch route is a short pass where the receiver runs straight down the field and abruptly stops and comes back to the ball.
Right. And the Eagles run that more than any other team in the NFL. They run that on 28% of the plays called on third downs alone this season. So when it's third down, their receivers 28% of the time run a hitch route. That is predictable. The next closest team to them that does so on third down is the New Orleans Saints. That is not a good football team. So there are some trends there offensively for the Eagles this year that they're startling. Comparatively across all the other Sirianni and Hurts-led offenses on third downs, the Eagles have ran hitches the most this year in 2025. In 2023, they ran hitch routes at 23% of the time, and in 2024 it was 20% of the time. This year on third down, as we mentioned, 28% of the time. It's bad. It's predictable.
Right, so let me ask you, is that good or bad? Because it works. They get the hitch route completion, which is a short pass. They're conservative offense where they're not asking Jalen to do too much. That's a hitch route, an easily completable play. And off of that, you can run a hitch and go, which we haven't seen very much of. But maybe they're setting up the hitch passes for the hitch and go to get the big explosive play for the playoffs.
I like to think that way as well. I've also kind of viewed this offense all season long as one that has been afraid to put things on tape before the playoffs. We saw this in 2023, but the defense just stayed on the field way too long, and there was no complementary football. And that's the big difference between this team and 2 years ago. Offensively, I mean, you got to do things to get your guys over the middle of the field. Dallas Goedert across the middle of the field has been the most efficient tight end in football this year. We all know what A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith can do. You just got to start dialing it up and calling it and stop being afraid of what could happen if it goes wrong versus what does happen when it goes right.
You watch all these other teams run these elaborate crossing routes, and you don't see the Eagles run the elaborate crossing routes. And I don't understand why.
There was a point this year, Mike, where the Los Angeles Rams, when they had the best offense in football, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams led the league in routes crossing over the middle of the football field. The Eagles were in dead last in that at that point of the season. I believe it was around week 10. Nothing has changed in 7 weeks. So
See,
something
this is
needs
the
to change for the
limitations of the
playoffs.
quarterback. It's the limitations of the quarterback. They're afraid to have him throw in the middle of the field with those timing routes across the field, and the safe play is the hitch route.
Absolutely. It is. But as a result to that, when a defense knows you're trying to keep it safe, then they crowd the box. And then those safeties get to be a little bit more downhill and a little bit more aggressive. And you see a lot of catch and go down versus catch and make a play with the ball afterwards.
And then the Buffalo Bills were stacking the box all game.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we don't pose the threat consistently with play action, even if you're going to run the ball. And there was a quote from Kevin Patullo that says, when you're building the run game, you stay committed to the run. You don't necessarily audible out of most of them, but all season long, the trend has been the same. The Eagles lead the league in getting to the line of scrimmage with 2 or 3 seconds on the clock. That gives your quarterback no time to adjust. You need to give Jalen more time to be able to do his job and dissect the defense pre-snap. And I think you'll see more results on the ground and in the play action game because of that. But until you get the play call in quicker, you're not going to see the execution of and how good Jalen actually is at seeing the field. The first year without Jason Kelsey, he was on ESPN every year saying, look at Jalen picking up blitzes. He hasn't been able to pick up blitzes since then because he gets to the line of scrimmage with 4 seconds, 3 seconds. So that needs to change
So
too.
let's get back to our original question. The way this offense is right now. See, I look at it like I think this defense can win games. I think this defense can beat high-quality opponents. The way the offense is now, do you sense that they could beat a high-quality opponent when they need to in the playoffs?
I do, because if they stick to the things that work and the counters of those play action plays that work, they will beat good teams. But we haven't seen it consistently. They get away from the plays that produce the most yards and the most pop. So until they put together a game plan that outside of the first 15 is like, all right, this is the Eagles offense we remember, it's going to be tough for fans and for other people to believe that. But I firmly believe that they have all of that there. They're just, I don't know, they're scared to put it out there too early for the playoffs. I'm not sure.
All right, let's go to our comments because J.S. Poorman or Jay Sporman, whatever he is, regarding the run game, seems to me there's 2 issues. One, it's easy to read pre-snap when they're going inside zone and the D knows it's coming. And 2, the offensive line has struggled, especially Juergens and Steen. Well, Juergens did get an All-Pro nomination, so I don't know how much he struggled. There have been times when he has struggled. And Steen, we haven't really lauded him all year, so maybe he is struggling. The defense is like the giving tree, Steve Curran says, giving and giving until there's nothing left, and in the end, still giving. All right, well, that's good. I guess that's a good thing because in the end, they're still giving when other teams aren't giving.
It's mindset. That's a mindset and a culture thing.
Absolutely. There's no way that Sirianni is holding off the whole season, ticking AJ off just to be fresh for the playoffs with nothing on tape. So is he suggesting that they're going to play their starters in that last game?
Yeah, and I think he's also suggesting, to my previous comment about the coaches being afraid to put things on tape. I mean, AJ just had another 1,000-yard season, so we're well in the rear view of him being frustrated. And I think that storyline is well past. But yeah, I think that this team has everything in their pocket to be able to make another Super Bowl run. You just got to use those pieces that got you the one last year.
Jay Sporman, the Bills knew exactly when to stack the box. The Birds are way too predictable. They are very predictable. Steve Curran comes back with, I think my most hated play is the 2nd and long, and they go for a 20-yard pass, which fails 9 out of 10 times, setting them up for 3rd and long. Well, 2nd down is a down that you really want to try that explosive type play. So it's just a matter of hitting it every now and then.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that play works if you're able to establish some bit of a run game on first. Like a lot of the time you see the 2nd down play is a play action play, especially if you pick up 6 to 8 yards on 1st down, you're toying with 2nd down because you have a few yards to pick up. But Eagles are playing a lot of behind the sticks football this year, down the stretch offensively especially. And yeah, I mean, it worked in 2018, but there were a lot of weird things that happened for Nick Foles in that offense when they converted 3rd and 9s and 3rd and 11s regularly in that Super Bowl run. This team is not that team.
No, they're absolutely not. Okay, let's take our first break of the show. We'll come back and I'll go over my play-by-play where I chart every series that's played, and we'll find out how good the Eagles were and how bad they were in the second half. This is Birds Brunch with Mike Missanelli. We're back after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free checking plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
Flawless occasion begins at the Capitol Grill. From the moment you step into the Capitol Grill, located in the heart of Center City, the experience is one of comfortable elegance. Whether you're looking to host a private affair, a perfect lunch stop, or dinner destination, start your occasion at the Capitol Grill today. Visit thecapitolgrill.com or call 215-545-9588. That's 215-545-9588 for the Capitol Grill, Center City. The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department.
All righty, back on Birds Brunch with Mike Missinelli, our day after look at the Eagles game. In this case, it was a 2-day look. We had a lot to digest yesterday with the Eagles and the Bills, 13-12. The Eagles surviving the game basically because of their defense and also because Josh Allen missed a wide open receiver on a 2-point conversion, which would have won the game for Buffalo. When I look at that play, I go, he was rushed. So I think the Eagles made enough necessary plays to win that game. But let's go over our play-by-play from the first quarter on. And, of course, the Eagles' first possession, they got the ball first. It was a 3rd and 10. He hit A.J., but it was short, so they had to punt there. Buffalo Bills' first possession, Allen was sacked on a 3rd down and 4, but defensive holding gave them a first down, but they didn't do anything with that at that point because Jalix Hunt sacked Allen, so they had to punt there. The Eagles' second possession, they took over 13. Barkley did run for a first down on that series, but Bills' defense tightened up on the run defense, and they wound up punting there. And now here comes the big play. Bills' second possession. Allen hits the bomb to Brandon Cooks. Inside post, by the way, a little skinny post. He beat Cooper DeJean on that play. Got it to the Eagles' 30-yard line. But then in the next play, Allen gets sacked. I don't know what he was trying to do. He rolled right. He was in desperate situations. Made an amateurish play, really, because he was fumbling the ball, was trying to get rid of it, pass it, or whatever he was trying to do. It got knocked out of his hands by Jalen Phillips. The ball got kicked down the field and got recovered by Jihad Campbell at the 45-yard line of the Bills, and the Eagles were able to punch it in from there on their next drive. Hurts to A.J. Brown for 14. Barkley had a 3rd and 1 run for a first down. He got it to the 2. Then he got it to the 1. And then on a play-action fake, Hurts hits Goddard in the end zone with 35 seconds left in the first quarter to go up 7-0. The Eagles then would get another punt from the Buffalo Bills, and their 4th drive, they took over at the 22. They converted a bunch of 3rd downs on this drive. 3rd and 4, Hurts to Smith in a tight window to the 40. 3rd and 10, Hurts scrambles out of trouble, rolls right, and hits A.J. at the Buffalo 42, which has been a pass that he's been able to complete all year long. When he scrambles right, he usually finds A.J. Brown. It's amazing the connection they have on those plays. Then at 3rd and 12, a penalty on Matt Milano gave the Eagles a first down. So they got a first down to Buffalo 35. Now, in this series, there should have been a PI called against Brown, but they didn't call it. It was at the goal line, no call. So 3rd and 9, short to Goddard, and that stops the drive, and Elliott kicks a 47-yard field goal. So they're up 10-0 at that point. They get another punt from the Bills. So again, the defense turning them over. Jalen Carter got the sack on that particular series, and Blankenship had a monster hit on that series where he came up and racked the running back. So the Eagles took over at the 31. Barkley for 9, Barkley for 16, got it to Buffalo 46. Then Barkley got it to the 42. Then short pass to AJ. Then Devontae to the 15, and that led to a field goal. That drive stalled, but the Eagles go up 13-0 at halftime, and you're looking like, okay, well, this could be one of those games where the Eagles defense just shuts Buffalo out. It looked like it was going to be one of those games, or one touchdown in the second half would really secure this game. But the Eagles did not get that. The Bills in this game, by the way, would have 7 possessions and 5 punts in a sequence there. And they punted on their first series of the second half as they deferred. They got the second half kickoff. They punted. Then the Eagles punted. And then the Bills punted. And then the Eagles punted again. And then the Bills took over at their own 32-yard line. They had a drive going. First down at the 42. Then Allen bomb up for grabs. It was caught by Shavers at the Eagles' 7-yard line. Then complete to Shakur at the 2. And then 3rd and goal at the 3. Cook got stopped for no gain. And then on a 4th and goal, Allen scrambled and got stopped at the 1-yard line. Zach Baun making the stop there. So that was tremendously key. And you wondered if the Bills were ever going to score. They squandered that particular possession. But in the 4th quarter, after a couple more punts, Shakir got a good return on the Buffalo possession. They started their drive at the 46-yard line. They get a first down at the Eagles' 30 on a Cook run. Shakir got a pass to the 12. Then Johnson moves the ball to the 3-yard line. Then he was stopped, no gain. And on a 3rd and 1, Josh Allen quarterback sneak for the touchdown with 5:11 left. The PAT was blocked by Jalen Carter. So it's 13-6 at that point. Would that come into play? Well, you're damn right it would come into play. That blocked extra point would really come into play. The Eagles, they couldn't do anything on the next possession. And a 3rd down and 12. They threw incomplete to Devontae. A lot of people looked at that play and said Devontae should have had that. But the Eagles at that point had 17 yards on 17 plays in the second half. And in the second half, the disparity was 140 for the Bills to 17 for the Eagles. So the offense was just inept in that second half. The Bills starting a drive now at their own 17 with 3:21 left. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, they don't seem to be in a hurry to do anything. I thought they were going to hurry up. They were still down a touchdown, and they were taking their sweet old time to get in there. And on a 4th and 10, monster play, a hook and lateral play for a first down to the Eagle 47. Key, 4th and 10. What a call, the hook and ladder, where they get the reception and then the little flip. Remind me of Friday Night Lights play. They get it to the Eagle 47. Then Allen gets down the middle, the Cooks to the 10, and he scrambles to the 3 with 23 seconds left. And then he gets to tight end Knox. It looked like a touchdown at first, but they marked it at the 6-inch line. And then finally a 4th down at the half-yard line. There was a 10-second runoff to get it to 0-8. 8 seconds left in the game, and Allen sneaks in for the touchdown with the 5 seconds left. What do you do in that particular situation? Let me bring my producer in again. Mike Warren, I want you to come in here. You're Sean McDermott. All right? You got the touchdown. You need a point to tie. 2 points can win the game for you at home. You're the home team. What are you doing?
I'm going for 2. I'm trying to get off the field. I'm trying to get my guys in the locker room and ride that momentum of what they were accomplishing of late. You know, keep riding the hot hand. It seemed like they could do no wrong when you're dialing up hook and ladders and they're working for you down the stretch. You got to keep on pushing forward. And as Jalen likes to say, stay on the attack. And that's what the Bills were trying to do. I mean, Sean McDermott has been in this game long enough. He knows that sometimes when you go to overtime, that little lull period in between, a couple words can be said and things can flip back in the other team's favor. So I think he was just trying to get his guys in the locker room and ride that momentum of a potential walk-off win.
I could not disagree with you more, brother. And that's the beauty of having a show like this. I could not disagree with you more. The Eagles were doing nothing offensively, and you had momentum offensively. So the safe play is you extend the game, because when you extend the game, you have the edge instead of you relying on one play where they may be able to stop you and then the game is over.
Right. Yeah, I'm 20. I'm a 2020, hindsight guy. I mean, looking back on it, you'd like to send the kicker back out there, especially because you're the home team. So I see both sides of it entirely. I think I just play a little bit too much NCAA football 26. So that's where I get my guts and glory from, I
Yes,
guess.
the way I look at it, and frankly, I would never do it for any situation. I would always tie the game because the way I look at it, you've got 22 players if you go in overtime. You only got 11 if you're trying to complete that pass for the 2-point conversion. So I'd rather rely on my whole team. With offensively, I could still do some things in overtime, and defensively, if I know I've been stopping the Eagles, I have a cushion. That's the way I looked at it. So I thought it was a mistake that he went for two. And as it turned out, I mean, I was right, but not because I'm not clairvoyant, but that play was wide open, and they very well could have completed that pass, and the Eagles would have lost the game there. But I would have kicked it.
Yeah, I think it worked out in the Eagles' favor, like we talked about earlier. Part of the game is also the other guy's got to make plays as well. And yeah, Shakir looked like he was wide open. Allen just missed him, and it works in the Eagles' favor. And I like that comment earlier. There is no luck. There is no. It is what it is, man. Like they went for it. You got to live with your decisions. You made your bed. Now you got to sleep in it.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Steve again checks in. If in Buffalo, definitely taking the extra point and going into overtime. Yeah, you're home, and it's almost like baseball. When you play for the tie because you have the last at bat. Going into overtime, like Mike said, the Eagles' defense has been out the entire second half, and their offense has done nothing. So maybe you're working against a tired defense. But it went the way it went. Sean McDermott said, I'm going to try to end it right here. We got the momentum. It just didn't work. Josh Allen wasn't himself. He just wasn't himself in that game. He did get pressured on that play, threw off his back foot. He rushed that throw instead of waiting and stepping into it.
Mike, I think the Eagles saw a lot on tape this week. You were giving credit to the specialist coaches, the defensive back coach for the Eagles, and Vic Fangio's staff. Their just incessant ability to pride themselves on going after the football. That was a violent ripping of the football out of Josh Allen's hand. Every time they were able to see it free, they saw something on tape. They saw something that was there, and they went after it. And I think that's something that makes this defense a little bit more special than some of the other ones in the NFL.
All right, let's go back to that play of the game. My play of the game and non-play of the game are the same thing. I don't know what Allen was trying to do on that play, but he got the ball stripped from him, and it got kicked all the way backwards. And Jahad Campbell recovered for the Eagles. Just a tremendous momentum play for the Eagles defensively because they had just completed the long pass to Brandon Cooks, and they were at the 30-yard line. So that was a faux pas by a veteran quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen has this ability, not just late in games, but he creates. He makes things happen when there's nothing there. Him and Patrick Mahomes are in the same kind of echelon where, when things break down, they're at their best. But it wasn't the case necessarily in this game until those final two drives because there were a lot of broken plays and a lot of green helmets in his face throughout the course of the game. So, yeah, he had his moments. He was able to find Brandon Cooks and, give him a little – shout out, a blast from the past there, beating the Eagles secondary. But yeah, Josh Allen is who he is. He's the MVP for a reason. You hear Nick giving him his praises. This guy's the best quarterback in the NFL. The Eagles made it hell for him, and that is awesome.
All right. Regarding next week and what the Eagles should do, and the two major questions we have out there, and I'd love for people to comment on the two major questions we have out there. One is, should you play the starters the whole game against Washington? Because if you win the game and the Bears lose, you get that second seed, which I think is really important. You're going against the seventh-place team at that point, which is the Green Bay Packers. And secondly, is this offense good enough to actually entertain thoughts of a Super Bowl championship? Let's see. In my opinion, August Drums puts in, my opinion, the starters should at least play a half. The 2 seed is still there for the taking. Well, if you play the half, you got to play the whole. Why would you play a half? That's not going to do anything for you, right? You got to complete the game. So you're maybe he's suggesting that you'd be ahead like 24-0 in the first half, and then you could rest your starters. But still, you can't assume that you're going to be ahead 24-0 in that first half.
There's nothing that this offense has done this season to where anyone, coaching, players, feels comfortable leaving after halftime, regardless of the lead. And that's not a slight at the defense because we know who they are, but this team has to show offensively that they can put 4 quarters together. They haven't done it all year, and the other playoff caliber teams have at least one game where they say, hey, We put up 40 points. We scored 2 touchdowns in a quarter. It's been a long time since we've seen this Eagles offense, again, punch somebody in the mouth, Mike. The defense has done it all year long. They want that Broad Street Bully mentality. Why can't the offense get the Broad Street Bully mentality as well? They had it last year when they were a running identity. You can be that way through the air as well. So they just got to find it.
I don't know at this point, the way their running game is, I don't think that there's any magic that their running game is going to be unleashed to the point where they can do the same things that they did last year. Right. I think that people are on to them. They're programmed to stop that running attack. So, yeah, the offensive coordinator's got a counter, and he hasn't countered well enough yet, nor has Sirianni. So I don't know. I'm really reluctant to say that the Eagles can score enough points to beat a really good team. They're going to have to win a game 17-13 in the playoffs against a really good team, and we'll see if that happens. All right, let's look at our playoff picture right now. As we stand right now, the Rams losing last night really screwed a lot of people up and put more uncertainty into the whole thing. They lose to the Falcons, and they have the Arizona Cardinals next week, which they should win. But right now, the Seahawks are the number 1 seed. The Bears are the number 2 seed. Now, if the Bears lose to Detroit and the Eagles beat the Commanders, the Eagles would get the number 2 seed. Detroit right now is kind of thrown in the towel. They don't have anything to play for, so I wouldn't think Detroit beats the Bears. But stranger things have happened. Eagles are in the 3rd spot. The Bucs or Panthers, I mean, who cares at this point? It's the most exciting race to come down to a mediocrity. The Bucs and Panthers. If the Bucs win next week, they still have to hope the Saints beat the Falcons. It's a weird tiebreaker. The Bucs beat the Panthers straight up. You would think that they should. If the Panthers beat the Bucs straight up, the Panthers get the spot. If the Bucs beat the Panthers straight up, they still have to hope that the Saints beat the Falcons for them to get that spot. Right?
Yeah. And the other thing too is, it's so funny, the parity with division races year in and year out. Give credit to the NFL schedule makers because they tried to do it across other conferences. You have the Eagles playing Washington 2 of the last 3 weeks of the season, Carolina and Tampa Bay facing each other 2 of the final weeks. This is exactly the same finish to the division during the Chip Kelly years with the Eagles when they went 10-6 and missed the playoffs.
Yep.
And Cam Newton won 6 games and snuck in. And
Yep.
This is exactly the same thing. It's going to be an exciting final week of football, but the Eagles have everything in their control. Go out and beat Washington and watch everybody else around you just kind of create chaos.
You do. You go out and you beat a bad team. You hope that the Bears lose to Detroit. You get the 2. If not, you're into the 3 seed. The 49ers are 5th right now, and that could change because if they beat Seattle next week, they'll get the number 1 seed, and the Seahawks will slide down to 5, and the Rams look like they're locked in 6th spot, which means the Rams would come to Philadelphia in a revenge situation after they lost that game that they should have won, really, at Lincoln Financial Field earlier this season when the weather was really hot. So now they're going to have to come into Philadelphia and beat the Eagles in cold weather.
Yeah,
and the Packers are 7th.
And then the Rams are still thinking about last year's playoff loss in the snow, too, right? They think that similar to the Saints when the Eagles won it the first time around, saying, well, if we just get to Lincoln Financial Field, we're beating the Eagles.
Yeah,
well, the Rams think
it's a double revenge situation for the Rams.
Right. And the Rams and the Niners are the 2 teams I don't want to see in the first round. Get the Packers here. Do whatever it takes. Control what you can control.
Yeah, unfortunately,
get Green Bay here.
It probably is not going to end up like that.
I know. It's not a perfect world.
It's not going to end up like that.
I know.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We got around the NFL. We'll go around the league and go into the important games that influence this playoff situation after this.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicky and Pete's. Warm up this fall with an incredible seafood boil. Try the Uncle George with succulent snow crabs, tasty mussels, and shrimp. There's the Pete's Feast with 2 pounds of sweet succulent crab legs, a dozen shrimp, clams, and a pound of mussels. Or create your own boil. Add a lobster tail or a delicious Dungeness cluster. Include smoked sausage, corn, and potatoes, served in our tasty broth, made with white wine and our signature seasonings. A shellfish lover's dream at Chickies and Pete's.
Your day-to-day life is hectic between having to pick up the kids, make dinner, the countless other tasks that you got to get done. Rob's Automotive and Collision is there to make your life a whole lot easier. Make sure you take advantage of their spacious waiting rooms, the large flat-screen TVs, complimentary coffee and muffins, and free Wi-Fi. So even when you do have to stop, Rob's is there to make you feel right at home. Give Rob's a call today at 215-826-9200 for any of your auto repair needs.
This is Tommy Green from the 1993 National League champion Phillies. Every champion needs a good game plan. BCWSA and I want to make sure you have a game plan when it comes to conserving our most precious resource, water. Whether you're washing dishes, brushing your teeth, or watering your garden, there are ways you can save water and save money. Visit bcwsa.net for tips on conserving water. BCWSA, proven.
Think banking hasn't changed? Think again. At Penn Community Bank, we've been helping communities thrive for 150 years. From our nationally recognized Access Checking that offers the peace of mind of no overdrafts, to student and free Checking Plus options with perks that will make you wonder what you did without them, like early direct deposit, overdraft grace, and Zelle. Learn more at PennCommunityBank.com/products. Penn Community Bank. Here we grow. Account and feature terms, restrictions, and conditions apply. Ask for full details. Member FDIC.
The Peruzzi Automotive Group on Business Route 1 in Fairless Hills is looking for auto techs, all skill levels. Here's a chance to work for a locally owned family business that offers many benefits. For more information, call the service director, John Damarotis, at 215-943-6200. That's 215-943-6200, or visit any Peruzzi service department.
All right, we're back on Birds Brunch with Mike Missinelli to look back at the Eagles game, and now we turn our attention to what happened around the league. It's called Around the NFL. Let's start with the Dolphins and the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers on a 3-game losing streak going into Miami, and in this game, rookie quarterback Quint Ewers for the Dolphins throws for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns, including a 63-yard toss for his first career touchdown. And Miami at 7-9 beat the slumping Tampa Bay Bucs at 7-9, the 4th straight loss for the Buccaneers. Of course, they can still clinch their 5th consecutive division title and 6th straight playoff berth in a mediocre division by beating Carolina, also having the Saints beat the Atlanta Falcons. Tampa Bay has looked like a paltry team down the stretch here. 4 straight losses have all been by 1 possession. But here is Quint Ewers, who was that held the job at Texas before Arch Manning got down there and was subject of a monster NIL contract as he left Ohio State for Texas, now playing backup to Tua, but now has the starting job. Here's his 63-yard touchdown, the Weiss.
Ewers throws on 3rd and 8, and is caught and will be taken all the way by Theo Weiss Jr., 63 yards.
All right, there you go. Seahawks and Panthers. Zach Charbonnet ran for 110 yards, 2 touchdowns, and Seattle turned 2 third-quarter Carolina turnovers into touchdowns. They beat the Panthers. The Panthers, with a win, would clinch that playoff spot. Instead, they got hammered. Sam Darnold threw an interception in the end zone, but he did finish with 18 for 27 for 147 yards with a touchdown for the Seahawks. The Seahawks can wrap up the NFC West title and the top seed if the San Francisco 49ers and Los Angeles Rams both lose or tie. Of course, that did not happen. So the Seahawks have to win against the 49ers next week. If they beat them, they get the number 1 spot. Jackson Smith, the jig bat, had 9 catches for 72 yards. Big play in this game, a 17-yard TD pass from Sam Darnold to A.J. Barner.
With a traditional fullback, running back look, and Darnold's going to throw it. Hits his open man. It's Barner cutting it for the touchdown. The Seattle offense has come alive.
All righty. Now let's go to the Cleveland Browns and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Boy, Pittsburgh traveling to Cleveland, needing a win or a loss by the Ravens. That didn't happen either. The Steelers lose to Cleveland and the Ravens win. So the Steelers will host the Ravens to close the regular season, with the winner getting the division and the AF's 4th seed in the playoffs. A lot of big games. The Browns, meanwhile, snap a 4-game losing streak as Shedeur Sanders throws for 186 yards and a touchdown. And I think we have his touchdown. We have his touchdown pass. Yes, 23-yard pass from Shedeur Sanders to that tight end, that monster rookie tight end, Harold Fannin Jr.
Here's a 2nd and 8. This pass to Fannin. He caught it, and he rolls in untouched. Harold Fannin Jr. with his 71st catch of the year.
All right, this game was not over, though. Pittsburgh gets the ball down with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers, just like Josh Allen, has a chance to forge a tie or a victory for the Steelers. And here is his final throw of the game.
3 on the play clock. Rodgers out of the gun, looking to the end zone, and it is incomplete. Incomplete and no flag. The Browns have pulled off the upset.
What an upset it was, by the way. That line was a little fishy. It was a 3-point line. Pittsburgh was only favored by 3 in that game. And when I did the podcast last week with Anthony Sanfilippo, that was his pick. I said, Andy, you better watch. That line looks a little fishy. And sure enough, the Browns win. Finally, Brock Purdy and the San Francisco offense did everything they could in this game. Purdy threw a 38-yard touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings with 2:15 left. The 49ers forced an incomplete pass on the final play from the 2-yard line to beat Chicago Bears 42-38. I'm telling you, these games came down to the wire last weekend. It sets up a Week 18 showdown for the top seed in the NFC. Caleb Williams drove the Bears down the field in the closing seconds, had one last shot for the win, but Bryce Huff forced him out of the pocket, and his short hop throw to Jahadi Walker in the end zone did not result in the completion, and it sealed a 6th straight victory for the 49ers. Here's an unbelievable play from Brock Purdy, a crazy scramble TD pass as the Niners won this game, and the pass going to Kyle Juszczyk.
Had to go quick with the play clock running down. He did. It's a boot. Purdy pulling back, stepping forward, throwing on the run, touchdown! What a play, Purdy! Juszczyk on the business end. You deserve to dance.
Yeah, pretty amazing play by Brock Purdy there. He's playing really good football. So again, the Eagles in a situation where they're going to play either the Rams or the 49ers in the playoffs. We worry about a couple things. We worry about, is the offense good enough to win? They didn't show it against the Bills. It was very disappointing, but it was a great win nonetheless for the Eagles. And now they play the Commanders. Should they rest the starters? The peril is that you get somebody injured in a game that you really don't need. You have a 3rd seed locked in. To win the game, you're trying to get a 2nd seed. Is that being too greedy? The balancing act to keep people healthy versus the winning the game to get the number 2 seed. That's something that's going to be discussed all week long. But that's about going to do it for Birds Brunch today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can catch this replay on all the podcast networks right here on the On Patterson Network. For Mike Warren, my producer, did a bang-up job today. Nice job, Mike. I'm Mike Missinelli. Thanks for watching, everybody. Birds Brunch, and we'll catch you next week for the finale. Bye-bye.